At 7:35 p.m., Beau Callahan stood up, raised his glass, and began the speech he'd spent weeks planning. He never finished it. 90 seconds later, he was on the floor. Everyone in that room would later agree on what they saw. Almost no one would agree on what caused it. Let's back up April 3rd, 5 o'clock, the Callahan estate. By 5, the staff had finished setting the house, bar stocked, dining room staged, everything arranged for what Beau Callahan was calling a leadership announcement. A toast to the future of Callahan Energy. At 5:15, Beau was alone in his office, reviewing his final will, confirming on paper restrictions on his son's access to company funds. Writing something in a private journal he didn't expect anyone to read that week. At 5:30, his evening medication was set out in the bathroom cabinet as it was every night. 1 pill before dinner, routine, unremarkable. What we can tell you, because the record is explicit about it, is that nobody in the family had arrived yet. Whatever happened in that house before 6 o'clock happened while Beau Callahan still believed he was alone. At 6 o'clock, Victoria Callahan took her position as host. Reagan and Grant Mercer arrived first, on time, composed together. 10 minutes later, an executive named Daniel Hayes folded into the group. Nothing about his arrival stood out. That's worth remembering. At 6:15, Mason Callahan arrived with his wife Camille. He was energetic, a little too energetic, the kind of energy that's really just nerves wearing a confident face. Camille said very little. She watched. 5 minutes after that, Leela Bennett arrived alone and immediately did something interesting. She kept her distance. Not from the room, from Beau specifically. And at 6:25, Senator Adrian Keller walked in, and the entire tone of the room shifted, looser conversation tightened into something more careful. A family dinner had just become a room full of people choosing their words. For the next 40 minutes, the house did what houses like this do before dinner: people circulated. Leela found a quiet moment to probe Keller about something old. Mason worked the room, performing confidence for an audience that included his own father. Camille drifted at the edges, taking in more than she said. At one point, Beau's office sat unattended, door not quite closed, a draft will and land sale records visible on the desk to anyone who wandered close enough to look. We don't know who did, we only know the door was open. At 6:45, Victoria reminded her husband to take his medication before dinner, the kind of small, caring gesture a wife makes without thinking twice about it. At 7, the family was called to the table. And at 7:05, this detail matters, Beau took his medication himself. No one handed it to him. No one stood over him. He reached for it and he took it, the same way he had every night for years. 10 minutes into dinner, the conversation was still controlled. Careful. And then Leela Bennett brought up something the family had spent 20 years trying not to talk about, a piece of land, a decision Beau made a long time ago, and the cost someone else paid for it. Keller stepped in to calm things down. He brought Beau a lemonade, a small, hospitable gesture that would later become one of the most scrutinized details in the entire case, for reasons that will make sense the deeper we go into this story. At 7:35, Beau stood to give his toast. Within a minute, he was slurring his words, unsteady, disoriented. By 7:37, he was on the floor. The room split instantly. Daniel Hayes looked genuinely shaken, the reaction, investigators would later note, of a man who didn't expect this outcome. Camille went still and composed. Victoria held the room with practiced calm. And Reagan took control, the way she takes control of everything. By 8:05, the accounts had already started to conflict. Who spoke to Beau last, when the symptoms actually began, what exactly was in that medication? Then, at 8:10, investigators found something that changed the shape of the entire case. Beau's original prescription bottle, discovered inside Leela Bennett's purse. She denied ever touching it, and here's the problem, the timeline backs her up. By every account of where she stood and when, Leela Bennett shouldn't have had the opportunity to put that bottle there herself. Which means someone wanted us looking at her. Someone was already thinking several steps ahead of the people investigating this, and that person was in the house before any of the guests we just met ever arrived. We don't know who yet, but we know the house wasn't as empty as it looked at 5 o'clock. That's the night everything changed in the Callahan house. Next week, we're turning to the brother left standing in the wreckage of that dinner, Mason Callahan, and the charm he's been using as armor for a very long time. Tell me in the comments, if you had to point a finger right now, knowing only what we've covered so far, who would it be? The full sequence of that night, every detail we can't get into here, is in the Callahan Legacy. Links below. Thanks for spending this one with me. Come back next week.